Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 2026 Esports World Cup, the first recap of a very exciting event. I am currently here in Paris. I am also going to be at the venue. I am casting, I am breaking things down. I'll be making a bunch of content, and I've already made videos about it. But if you want to get involved, I'll put a link in the description for you to all participate and watch along the event. You can do the pick'ems where you just choose who you think is going to win the whole thing. We've got Magnus Carlsen, we have Hikaru Nakamura, Ali Reza Firouzja, we have Hans Niemann, Dennis Lazovic, Nihal Sarin, and today was the play-in. So today all the big stars did not play, but instead 8 players played for the final 2 spots. And so that is what I will be showing you in today's video. Some very exciting knockout format style events. The winner of the upper bracket and the winner of the lower bracket took the final 2 spots. And I will preview all of this for you. And yeah, then we're going to have a great time. I'm also on a new setup with a new laptop. So if today goes well, let me know. And if it goes poorly, let me know if anything is too loud or whatever it might be. We're going to kick things off with this matchup between Wei Yi and Yesipenko, and really, like, this tournament is just unbelievably stacked. You have Alexander Bortnik, Liem. You have Grischuk is playing. He made it through the last chance qualifier. Parham Maghsoodloo played this tournament while recovering from appendicitis and surgery. And we will get into that later. So some unbelievable storylines in this event. Let's kick things off with this game that Wei Yi played. This is a matchup and a rematch of the Candidates tournament. Both of them didn't have particularly good campaigns in the Candidates, but still Wei Yi is an absolute monster. This was early days in the event. It was a Petrov defense, and you kind of think like, okay, this is not going to be anything special. But we have a Petrov, and we have this line C4. C4 is certainly a strange move. It's not the most popular, but White wants to either play D4 or maybe play knight to C3, and there are some positions, you can maybe you can go here and somehow maybe capture and your pawns will be doubled or something like that, but at least you'll have some central space. But this game gets really weird because after bishop to e7, d4 is played, d5 is played, and then this check is given and Wei Yi goes king f1. And I mean, this is generally a bad sign. If you're a Petrov player and you've made it into a position that looks kind of like this, yeah, it's bad news. It's about to get very sharp and very complicated, and that is exactly what happens in this game. We have c6 played, and Wei Yi goes h4. Which is like... yeah. And part of the thing is, like, Wei Yi plays the Petrov himself with the black pieces, so he... he obviously is going to have a few tricks up his sleeve. This is completely insane chess. Like, obviously, you want to put the knight on g5, and you want to create some sort of attack, which is why Andrei plays h6. Queen b3 attacks the bishop moves around again, and now queen a3. This is all apparently the preparation of Wei Yi, and actually Andrei, look at his time. He has 9 minutes and 44 seconds, clearly aware of this idea, plays quite quickly as well, and then starts taking his time. So that bishop has gone... it has gone to e7. I forgot about that. It went to e7, b4, a5, c7, d6. Black has played 13 moves, and 5 of them are with the dark squared bishop, c5, bishop c7. And from this point forward, something really ridiculous happens. And he moved the bishop again, by the way. Wei Yi goes bishop d2, castles, rook e1, and then he goes g3. Just trading, just wanting to get the king to safety, plays king g2. Now, if you take the knight, the king comes out, but the king is actually completely fine on that square. Knight d7, rook e1. Now, if I ask you a question, folks, queen c1, what do you think is going to happen in this position? Now, clearly the bishops are pointed in that direction. The knight is pointed in that direction, and I mean, I don't have to spell it out for you. I think you can kind of understand. There's going to be something over there. It's going to be nasty. It's going to be quite nasty, and especially if you allow it, right? We're trying to go to the right side of the board and sacrifice some sort of bishop. For reasons I can't fully comprehend, Andrei Yesipenko just allowed this. I mean, he obviously was like, this doesn't work. He clearly looked at it and was like, I think Wei Yi is overestimating this. I don't exactly know what he missed, but Wei Yi flies into this position and just goes knight f3, knight, the queen back to g5, knight here. Maybe this was the concept that was missed. Like, maybe he thought there was a way to defend, but this is the way, and you win this game in very easy fashion. You give a check, black has to continue to defend, you go queen f6, and now that the f-pawn can't move, you go rook e5. And this is the end of the game. And this game is a really nice example of sacrificing material when you attack, when the queen has at least 2 more helpers. You know, you have 2 more attacking pieces than there are defenders. I always call this the rule of +2. Yeah, Wei Yi just plays an incredibly dominant game and knocks out Yesipenko into the loser's bracket. You basically just have to not lose twice. So the winner of the upper and the winner of the lower brackets will move on. Now, meanwhile, while this was going on, you know, you have Alexander Bortnik, who is also an incredibly strong player, and to me, one of the favorites in the group, although it's difficult to predict, you know, exactly the favorites. Now look at this amazing game. He's playing against Liem, who is a Vietnamese grandmaster. You all know him, or maybe you don't. But he's also really strong, and in particular in blitz chess. And in this game, he plays this offbeat variation of the Spanish, where he plays like d6, followed by b5, followed by knight a5. This really is only the stuff that works in 10-minute rapid games, which are the games that they are playing here, and also the games that you probably play at home. And now d4. So Bortnik doesn't care that his bishop is going to be taken. He wants to capitalize on the lead on development. Black has played in a very strange way. And, you know, he continues to play in a very strange way. And I love the way Bortnik plays this game. He just plays with energy. Like, his opponent is playing off beat. He's not playing in the center. He's not developing his pieces. So Bortnik is playing on beat, developing his pieces, and playing in the center. Like, another piece comes out with a tempo. Now, Black probably should defend with pawn to f6. I don't really see what else, because after this move, you know, Bortnik just capitalizes. He's a very good initiative player. He understands dynamics really well, and he just puts the knight on d5, and this is terrible. This is just really awful. f6 is played here, and I mean, f6 is really asking for it. Yeah, and he was really, I mean, you can't even take the pawn because knight takes his mate. And I don't really know what was missed in all of this. Like, here, knight d5 was not necessary. You could have played knight takes b3, and then you also could have played knight to c6 after, which would have been attacking the queen, and then, you know, the bishop would have been pinning, but the queen would have been mutually hanging. Alexander just, yeah, I mean, Sasha just completely, I mean, like, look, this is just evisceration. h4, f4, knight into e8. How much do you get to play a move like knight to e8? And the rook is hanging here, pawn to f5 is a threat, and it's just over. Alexander just cleaning things up, walking the king around the board, just a humiliation in the center there, and queen d4 is mate. And yeah, I mean, Sasha won a really nice game, and sent Liem, you know, down to the loser's bracket as well to try to make his way back up. Just amazing chess being played by some of these players. We have some solid players in the event like Wei Yi, but Wei Yi is also, modern Wei Yi is solid, you know, older Wei Yi is solid. Young Wei Yi was a monster, and he showed that in the game that he played. And Alexander always wins games that look like that. Now, the matchup of the Russians, Artemiev versus Grischuk, probably in terms of overall ability, skill, and just like general knowledge and expertise, Grischuk is by far the player in this field that is head and shoulders above the rest. No disrespect to any of the other players, but like, I mean, this was a 2800 level player and he's been a monster for 20 plus years. But this is a very unforgiving format, and this game kind of showed that. He has always excelled in time trouble, Grischuk, and he's always excelled in classical chess, but also blitz. But this is a very different format. Artemiev plays his typical double, fianchetto setup, and okay, Grischuk is sort of mirroring it himself. This is maybe not the best approach, but it's very difficult to exploit exactly why. Grischuk ends up going queen b6, which is normal, and knight c5, and a5. And then right here, Artemiev plays in this way where he's clearly preparing something. He's trying to play a3 and b4. And Grischuk here spends a minute and a half, which at least makes some sense, and gets hit with this move b4. And so for these next 3 moves, rook d8, every one of these moves took him at least a minute. And right here, yeah, he got really low on time. 647 to 311. So 3 moves, 3 minutes down. There's no bonus time here, so you have double the amount of time as your opponent. And so now the strategy has to be continue to make him make difficult decisions. And Artemiev is just incredibly strong at chess. Like, he is 2770 FIDE peak, which is a crazy number. And he's always competing in Rapid and Blitz World Championships until the very end. Like, he's always a top 5, top 10 finisher. Yeah, and here, Grischuk goes crazy here. He tries to make the game very complicated, but he miscalculates. Artemiev finds a very nice move here. Knight to d5 was wrong, but Grischuk already was feeling the time pressure. Here you had to play dc5, and instead Grischuk goes knight to d5, which is a discovered attack on the bishop, by the bishop on the queen, etc. But it's countered very beautifully here. It's countered with this amazing move, knight to b5. So both knights stand hanging, but the queens are also hanging. And Grischuk was beside himself. He was very unhappy with this game. And after the queens come off the board, you can sacrifice your material. It doesn't really matter. Knight takes d6. And Grischuk just didn't, I don't think he saw this move. So there are 4 pieces hanging in black's position. Have you ever seen something like this? White is down material, but white can take the bishop in the corner, the bishop over here, the rook, and the knight. And everything's falling apart. And like this, Grischuk just resigned. He can't defend all his pieces. Artemiev just an amazing tactical detonation in the middle of the board. And he also was very strong moving through the winner's bracket. And this was one of my favorite games of the day. And then I want to show Yesipenko one more time because Yesipenko was... Actually, I'm going to show him a couple of times. He was playing against Maghsoodloo, and I just want to say the lore is that Maghsoodloo had appendicitis. And if any of you have ever had appendicitis, knock on wood, I have not had appendicitis. I think I said appendicitis, which would be brutal if you had an appendix and a rupturing sinus at the same time. Appendicitis, you usually got to go to the hospital. Or maybe always. I don't want to give accidentally incorrect medical advice here. Parham, apparently, requested to play under medical clearance using medicine, and he played in the last chance qualifier, which happened like a week ago, to secure a spot in the play-in. Won his spot, got a surgery, and came back to play today. Michael Jordan flu game pales in comparison. I understand the significance of that game. This dude had an appendix taken out. That is, what is it, appendectomy or whatever? Just insanity. And here he is against, he beat Alexander Bortnik. So Bortnik was knocked out. And Parham also defeated Aravind Chittambaram, who was also playing in the event. And Aravind had a very difficult task ahead of him. I think he was probably the least likely to qualify. And he was a very good player, but this is a group of real killers, really good rapid and blitz players, a lot of online experience. Yeah, Parham kind of played Yesipenko's style against him. He played a very positional and grinding style, very nasty type of positional bind. And he just slowly improved his position. And against Yesipenko, sometimes you just have to be very patient. Yesipenko has that Russian style of chess. And that's what Parham did. He was slow and steady. He won a pawn. Yesipenko gave away a pawn to try to play in this endgame. And Parham... just has to reposition his material, continues to make tactical threats, like Yesipenko going active, and now both guys getting into a time trouble, and playing an equal endgame with 2 minutes on the clock is not the same thing as playing it with 3 hours. And ultimately what happens is Parham just does what I like to call massaging the position. He massages the position to a +2 advantage. He's going to move this f-pawn maybe forward to f5, or to f3 and just defend himself. He's going to walk the king over to b5. He's just going to push the pawn. And to make matters a lot easier for him, where defense is absolutely not needed, Yesipenko hangs a rook in one move. But honestly, he was probably just going to lose anyway. Now, Yesipenko managed to win this match, but Parham I want to give a lot of credit to, because he ended up losing earlier in the day, and then he moved on by beating Bortnik in the loser's bracket, and he beat Yesipenko, but unfortunately it wasn't enough. Yesipenko ended up winning, and he qualified to the loser's bracket final. Now, this was the winner's bracket final. Okay, this is Wei Yi versus Artemiev. These guys are clearly the 2 best players in the field, to me, right now, in terms of not just form, but ability. Grischuk is probably the overall biggest legend, but Wei Yi and Artemiev are unbelievably strong players, and they also have higher peak ratings than everybody else in this field. Higher than Bortnik, higher than Liem, higher than Parham, higher than Aravind. Not higher than Grischuk, but Grischuk is already, we've talked about Grischuk already. And we knew that this was going to be a game of, a game of inches. Or we're here in France, so a game of centimeters. No, sorry, a game of centimeters. So d4, knight d7. This was a repositioning maneuver here from Artemiev. and rook e1, and Wei Yi has a dynamic position unfolding. He has the bishop pair, he has better control of the center, he has an imbalanced pawn structure, the doubled c-pawns, but they support the center. And Artemiev is very, very good at making practical decisions relatively quickly, but in this game, he actually fell behind on time a lot, which is very uncharacteristic. And honestly, in this format, if you're down 2 to 2.5 minutes, you're just going to lose. Unless you're Grischuk, unless you're playing Grischuk, because then he might end up being down 2 minutes after you were down 2 minutes. No, but I mean, joking aside, you cannot be down 2.5 minutes. It's unbelievable pressure, just unbelievable pressure in this field to put yourself in such a time disadvantage. And that's what happened. I mean, that's what happened. Wei Yi, he ended up taking on e5 and takes on e5, queen to b5, putting pressure on the queen side. And now knight g6 attacks the bishop. It's clear that Artemiev wants to give away this guy over here. And we have rook d1, which is very nice, and queen c8. And white just has beautiful activity. So white has the bad pawn structure on the queen side, but white has a very powerful rook. White has the bishop that he can now take for the knight, and the pawn structure is weakened, and black's king is going to be weak in the long run. And now you have to slowly improve the position or massage it, right? G3, little too slow. I feel like old school Wei Yi would have done something a little bit more crazy in this position. He would have taken the pawn on b7. He would have went for the wild ride. But he goes like this. He plays this much more positional. Yeah, and before you know it, the game is getting a little bit sharper. Now you can play h4 here maybe, but rook d3, again, old school Wei Yi, I think h4, h5, in a heartbeat to play positional. The other idea of h4 is that knight to h2 can happen, but maybe more on that later. Okay, no queen trade, obviously. And still Wei Yi playing quite quickly, right? Up that 40 seconds on the clock, 1 minute on the clock, and like I've been saying, 340 to 223. Here white is a favorite 8 games out of 10. Really 8 games out of 10. That's how big it is. C5 is played. Knight to d2. Nice repositioning here. And rook d8 is just a blunder. But again, 2.5 minutes. What do you do? Right? But he goes knight c4. And I guess after queen b5, there were some ideas to maybe sacrifice. But this is black's major problem. This knight on g6 is just never entering the game. Artemiev did not find an opportunity to reposition this knight at all. And Wei Yi, every game that he won today, and the rook takes d3 was a nice idea to try to sacrifice for counterplay, but every time that he won a game, Wei Yi, he won it with absolutely crushing authority. He would win with 97, 98% precision, and this one was no different. He managed to calculate that even though the material would be the same, his queen and knight would be attacking the king, and his knight would be defended by the queen, and defending the pawn, which defends the king. So it's just beautiful coordination between the queen, the knight, and the pawn, both to attack and to defend. And this is over. And I have to tell you, I have not seen Artemiev defeated in such a convincing fashion in an extremely long time. And that shows a lot about the level that Wei Yi is playing at because, yeah, I mean, what to say? I mean, he just was in incredible form. And I actually forgot to add a game. I'm going to go full screen really quickly because Wei Yi won the winner's bracket, right? So he wins the winner's bracket, which means that he is now the 15th player who ultimately will make it into the group stage. And that means that the last matchup of the day is Yesipenko versus Artemiev. Both of these guys, very good players. And this was a very long one. It was a positional game. Both, this is like the modern way to kill the Queen's Gambit declined. Don't play this at your local chess club because that would be an idiotic thing to do. Seriously, if you play an opening like this unironically and your rating is below 2,600 FIDE, you're a chump. This is the meta to end the game with the black pieces. It's a way to kind of completely neutralize White's Queen's Gambit, but it's only useful if you're a top player. If you actually play like this unironically, you hate chess, you hate yourself, and I hate you. So pawn takes d5, pawn takes d4, and there's this approach here. There are many approaches that White has tried, but if Black plays perfectly, Black holds a draw. e4 is a very dynamic approach. Black loses the right to castle. Black voluntarily damages their bishop pair. Bishop b5 is obviously some sort of prep. I've never seen that move. You can take the bishop, you can damage the pawns, a6 is played, bishop a4. Clearly there is some sort of idea here putting the bishop on a4. Now there's the idea to put the bishop on c2 and I guess just take. But ultimately, Artemiev knows the line basically perfectly. And even though he gets to the correct position, you see that the time is a massive time sink, right? And this is the problem. He dedicated 3.5 minutes to getting to this position, and now he has to hold this position. And this is a miserable position. White is going to play this position forever and ever and ever. And even though it's equal, it's always annoying. And that's all you need in chess. Now you are a pawn up with white. You're a pawn up with white. And you're going to play this position for 2.5 more minutes time advantage, right? So rook e3, rook d3, knight d1. I mean, it looks completely unwinnable. And you're not really wrong, right? He loses the pawn on h2. This is almost Fischer-Spassky. Shout out 1972. All right. Some of you were born then. Most of you were. But on this channel, honestly, like probably 10 to maybe more were born. I have to check the analytics. But do let me know. Let me know if you were alive then, and also let me know if you watched that match. This is like the bishop takes h2 thing where the bishop gets trapped in the corner, except Fischer actually lost his bishop. This bishop is getting saved. But still, maybe he didn't need to do that, but he does, and he ends up trying to save his bishop. But I mean, ultimately, Artemiev is just down on time. He's down on time the whole game. He's down on time here. And just like, you know, in the previous matchups that we saw, time is very important because you will play fine. And then at some point you won't. And here it's still even. And he's doing his best, Yesipenko. But it's at some point Artemiev jibs below a minute. And there's still 35 extra seconds for white. And even though we go to an equal rook endgame, this is as close as it's been. Artemiev does everything right. And then right here, he loses the game. Right here, he plays f3, and that's a losing move. He should have not pushed this pawn. He should have kept his rook on the b file. 4 seconds, you know? And then here, Yesipenko re-loses the game himself because he's supposed to give a check on h7 here so that he gives the check and then the black king has to move, but he goes like this. This is now back to a draw, and this proceeds to be a draw for like 20 moves. Rook and pawn versus rook, 24 seconds, but Artemiev is, you know, he's going to get flagged. I mean, ultimately, this is the Esports World Cup. This is part of the format, and even though it's a little bit dirty, and this is a position known as the Philidor position, and it is a draw, it's not a draw when tens of thousands of dollars are on the line, and in the time scramble, ultimately, Artemiev has made it, even though this endgame, you know, is losing. But this was purely because the opening choice led to a position where, despite surviving the opening, he was down so much time that it played a role in the end. And Yesipenko, despite losing to Wei Yi, makes it to the final spot of the round of 16. The round of 16 is brutal. Actually, I think Yesipenko qualifies to play Magnus Carlsen. And I think Hikaru will play... Wei Yi, which is tough, you know. And this will begin tomorrow. Let me refresh this page. I don't know if we have a full schedule yet. We have it here, but do we have it in the group stages? The answer is no. Now, I think it's probably posted online, all of these, but there is some sort of a bracket format here that you can find. And they have it seeded like the second seed plays, you know, the 7th seed, and similar thing. But the group stage is double elimination style brackets. So for the next 2 days of this event, it's going to be, so August 12th and 13th, there will be group stage matchups where folks will be making it into the playoffs. So of those 16 players that you see, only 8 are making it into the quarterfinal that will lead to the whole thing. So we're going to cut that field in half. You look at that field, who do you think is going to get removed? We talk about, I mean, I can pick 4 players here, maybe 5, who are underdogs and probably will not make it to the top 8. Maybe Yesipenko, maybe Sarana, maybe Bok, Pranesh, and Sina Movad. That's 5. And we need to remove 3 more, and maybe Duda. They are definitely not as strong as Carlsen, Lazovic, Hikaru, Niemann. How are we going to remove more people? It's crazy. Absolutely crazy, this event. These are the best speed players in the world, and it's not even close. It is not even close. Monsters are here, absolute monsters. So I can't wait to see what happens. Yeah, tune in tomorrow. Recap will be a little bit earlier. Do your pick'ems, select who you think is going to win. First place prize for picking all of the players of the Esports World Cup is like $10,000. Go win yourself some money. You know, it's awesome. That's all. That's all I have for you today. Get out of here.